Alright guys, today we have a 2007 Dodge Grand Caravan. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna remove the front brake pads and rotors, and we're gonna replace it with new brake pads and rotors. So to start off, what you're gonna do here is we're gonna remove the number 12 right here, right? And on the top, we are not going to remove this one because you're going to be able to lift this caliper up and slide the pin out, alright? And if you have other cars, it's going to be a similar procedure. So I'm going to show you this one here, but to work on the opposite side, on the passenger side, it's the same procedure. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove that number first, alright? Alright, so I'll take my number 12 with the ratchet and I'll put some force on it. And you should be able to take off this bolt easily. This is number 12. And put this bolt somewhere safe. And once you have that out, we're going to remove this caliper. Sometimes you have to pry it open with a screwdriver or a pry bar. Sometimes it just lifts right out. So once we have that out, what we're going to do is we're going to push this caliper to the side. So what we'll do here is I'll move my camera to a different angle. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to push that off. You see this? It slides right out. Just like that. Alright, once we have that out, you can take this caliper, put it somewhere safe. Just don't let it dangle down, alright? Because you'll damage the brake cable. So what I did is, I put the caliper right here, alright? We're going to leave it there for now. What I'll do next is, I'm going to take my camera, put it towards this angle right here. And I'm going to take these brake pads. So simply, you remove these brake pads easily. You see this? This is not good. This hardware kit is jammed to it. It's loose. So what we're going to do is, if the brake pads come with it, we're going to put new hardware kit. And if it doesn't come with it, we're going to try to fix this one up and put it back in there, right? And these brake pads are done, alright? Look at that. You see that? They're finished. And also, this little fella right here, this brake indicator sensor here, I'm going to put this facing on the inside here, not outside, alright? And the reason is, it doesn't, it usually sits on the inner brake pad, so I'm going to change it. Maybe somebody who changed this, he made a mistake putting this outside. Alright, so I'll do that. Once we have that in place, what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit more further and we're going to remove these two bolts right here. These are 21s on this car, right? Both of these bolts. Alright guys, once we have that out, like I said, we're going to move over to the back. We're going to remove this bolt and this bolt. Usually what I like to do is, oh, my camera keeps getting tipped over. Let me try to fix this airline. I'll adjust the camera a little bit. There you go. Alright, so I like to loosen the bolt on the top first. Alright, you don't have too much clearance back here, so just be careful. Once you have that bolt loose, remove the bottom bolt. You could do the other way around, leave the bottom one loose. The reason is one of the bolts is gonna hold this bracket while you're down here. Alright, there you gotta have the second one out. What I'll do now is I'll take this bolt out, put it somewhere safe, and then the top bolt is loose, should be able to take it off. And there we have the bracket off. Alright, save this bolt. Always check these two little bolts here, these pins. The one that came out from here, put some grease in that and put some grease on this one. We'll do that in a little bit. Alright, once you have that bracket moved, you simply take this rotor and you take it off, right? Just like that. Once you have the rotor out, make sure you clean this hub right here. Just brush it down a little bit. Sometimes it's rusted, corroded. This one's not so bad, right? And the reason why you want to do that is you don't want no debris down there. That will cause the rotor and the brakes to move unevenly, and you're gonna have a shaky pedal. You're gonna feel a vibration in the car. It's gonna seem like you have bad rotors, right? So next, what I'll do is, I'm still waiting for the parts, but meanwhile, what I'm doing while I'm doing this, we're gonna compress that piston back in. Let me get my tool. All right, one of my subscribers recommended to let a lot of people know when we compress this pistons, make sure you take the reservoir cap off. Make sure you do that, all right? And that's gonna let this brake fluid is gonna flow back when you compress this, all right? And it's gonna push the brake fluid back into the reservoir. And make sure you open that cap open, leave it open. And if there's excessive fluid, it'll overflow, no problem. You'll see it dripping, all right? And that's a good tip. I'm sure he's gonna watch my video. He's gonna know. I remember what he told me, all right? And I thank him for that. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna put a brake pad there. You're gonna use if you don't have this kind of tool, you could use a C-clamp, right? You put a C-clamp here, and you can compress that piston back. He also recommended me to say that on one of my future videos, or most of my future videos. So you can put a C-clamp here if you don't have this kind of tool, all right? But if you have a clamp like this, all you do is you push this pedal back. You squeeze this thing, and it's gonna push the piston back. All right, it should be going nicely and easily. All right, be careful if you do something like this, like what I did. If this thing was more closer, it would have stopped this brake pad. It would have touched there. But so just try to move it up a little bit, or just use a different type of pad, the other pad that doesn't have that little sensor on. All right, so this piston is compressed, and it's pretty good. All right. I'm gonna go get a rag. We're gonna clean this pin off, and we're gonna clean the pin off the other one, and we'll put some grease on this. All right, guys. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna clean this little pin off right here. All right, just clean it off. Wipe it down with a rag. We'll put grease on that. Also, this little pin here. This is very important, you know, to do the brakes right. A lot of times you don't have any grease there. Wipe this down also, right? Sometimes you could clean the inside of this. All right, if it's your car and you're doing it for your car, you're on good. This will make the brakes last longer. The brakes will be smoother. Because if this gets jammed up, it's not gonna move like it's supposed to. Every time you press a brake, its caliper squeezes, this thing moves. And it moves back, moves in and out. That's what it does, all right? Same thing with that one. Let me get a little bit of grease. What I'll do is I'll put some grease on this one right here. And then I'll put some grease on this. Doesn't have to be a lot. You don't want to like jam it up in there with full of grease either. All right? And then we'll take this pin and we'll push it right back. All right, make sure that boot catches just like this one. And now we'll wait for the new pads and rotors, and we'll install those, and we'll continue the videos in a little bit. All right, guys, I got my new disc here. Right here is the new disc, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the disc on. Make sure the surface here and on the back end is clean. All right. You have to spray it with the brake cleaner, parts cleaner, and wipe it down with a clean rag. And because this has oil in it, you don't want to leave that behind. You're gonna have a problem with braking. All right, make sure you don't drop that caliper in the back. All right, we got that. Next, if you like, you know, you could grab a lug nut and put a lug nut on. What that's gonna do is it's gonna help you keep this rotor in place, all right? That's like a one little tip that I can give you guys, because it's gonna move around when you try to put this bracket on. All right, what we're gonna do next is, let me grab my flathead screwdriver. We're gonna remove this hardware kit, all right? All these little clips, just pop them off. All right, some of them came off, you know. Alright, there you go. I got them all 4 off. 2 of them just came off the brake and I took off the other 2. What I'll do next is take a wire brush, just brush them down here, right? Wear a mask because it's dusty. The brake dust is no good. Alright, you can use a wire brush, sandpaper, file, anything you like. Just clean the surface here, alright? Once you clean the surface, I'm gonna go grab the new hardware kit, and we got the bracket there. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this hardware kit. See this angle? This comes from the outside, alright? Make sure it's facing out. Alright? It's gonna work like a spring. And the inner one is straight because you don't want to put the other one on the inside, it'll hit the rotor. Just follow how you took off everything. You're gonna put it back the same way. Alright. And I'm gonna put this one here. Well, I'm not gonna put that one there either because the edge is gonna come out on this side. Let me try this one here. Alright, you see this one side is higher than the other side, so this flat surface has to be there. Alright, let me try. I might have to switch up with the other 3 that I left on the other side. Other 4, I'm sorry. If I try to put this here, this will be good. You see the letter side. Alright, this only takes about 5 to 10 minutes or more than that if you're struggling. I'm gonna go change this one because it's different than the other ones, and I left it on the opposite side. I'm gonna come right back. I'm gonna go grab that. Alright, I got the new one here. I swapped it with the other side because I left the 4 for the other opposite side. Alright, like I said, I'm only gonna show you one side, and there you go. Right, got them flat here. They're higher on this end. Same thing here. And I got this greased up, and I got grease on the caliper pin. Alright, what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna take my camera to the other end and we're gonna mount this in, alright? Alright guys, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my number 21 bolts here. I'm gonna put this through here, leave it hanging a little bit, and like I said, put a bolt on the rotor here, the lug nut, so it holds the rotor for you. And this is gonna make everything easy for you, right? So you're gonna align this bracket and you're gonna catch the threads on this, on both of them. Make sure this washer is in there. If that washer is not in there, this thing might go too far, the bolt, and it might hit the rotor. Alright, let me go grab my impact gun, and we're gonna tighten both of these bolts. Do it evenly, alright? You don't want to just tighten one so hard and the other one is just left behind. Alright, there you go. We have that in there. What I'll do is next is I'm gonna put my brake pad in. Remember this little sensor? I'm gonna put this facing on the inside. So you take your brake pad, stick it in there, alright? The brake pad should go in smoothly. And I'll bring my camera out a little bit so we can see the outside one now. Alright, let me move my light to this angle. Alright, take this brake pad, stick it in, and push it in, alright? Make sure the brake pad going smoothly. You should not have to hammer this in. If that's the case, just buff it down a little bit. Alright, so we have that in. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna put a little bit of grease here and a little bit of grease on the inside brake pad. Let me see the grease in. So all you do is, to do a good job, put some grease there and on the inside, alright? Just gonna let the caliper move around. Let it freely. And once that is done, make sure this cable is not twisted, alright? We're gonna take this, we're gonna stick this into the caliper bracket, the sliding pin, and make sure the boot goes in smoothly, and this caliper should drop down easily. Alright, so far so good. And I have this, let me take my light a little bit down here so we can see better. In the back and the bottom, let's move it down a little bit. Right, make sure this is aligned and the caliper's in. And then you're going to take the number 12, you're going to put the number 12 there, and we're going to tighten that number 12. Can you give me the 12 with the ratchet there? Yeah. Alright, so this job is pretty much done, and we're going to take this number 12 and we're going to tighten this. Alright, and we're done. Alright, let's take a look at the job now. I'll bring my camera this way. There you go. We have brakes and rotors installed on a 2007 Dodge Caravan. This is the front brake pads. Same procedure applies to the opposite side. And we're done. Alright, if you guys have any questions, you can send me a message, comment me, and please subscribe. And that's it. We're done. After this, take the car for test drive and make sure you pump the brake pedal and before you start the car, because once you compress this piston, that brake pedal is going to be soft because this is going to pump in fluid, and the brake is not going to be applied till it's nice and tight. And make sure you put the reservoir cap on if you took that off, and that's it. All right.